Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your darling radio show, Mental Health Show with James Osuntoogunjames. You call me mcjerryjay. Welcome, everyone, every family member, every friend, every fan, every mental health advocate to this week's episode of Mental Health Show. We're going with a different dimension today. And this week we'll be treating eating disorder. I know you'll be surprised. What is eating disorder? Don't rush. That's why we're on the show. And you'll be so surprised. We're having two special guests on the show today. But before I let the cat out of the bag, let it be. Eating disorders are serious mental and physical illnesses that involve complex and damaging relationship with food, eating, exercise, and body image. It might be so shocking to know that eating disorder affects approximately 20 million females and 10 million males in Nigeria. You'd say you've never heard about it. Yes, it's rarely reported. Eating disorder has no regard for the population. It has no regards for age, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, religion, sex, gender, and so on and so forth. But then to help us today, I'll be introducing my first guest. She's the founder of his Light Counseling Services. She works with Unique Mind Organization, an NGO, to prevent drug use and addiction amongst adolescents. She's also a consultant on therapy for adult counseling. Lydia, as I will call her, works with Lead Smart Academy in Ibadan, where she serves as a psychology instructor to university students. When she starts speaking, you would understand the fact that she's so compassionate about developmental psychologists. She's a counselor, a wife, a mother, and a mental advocate. Today, she will be helping us as we expatiate eating disorder from the psychological perspective. Make welcome Mrs. Lydia Jesutofumi Adeladon. You're welcome on the show, ma.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Mrs. Lydia Jesutofumi Adeladon. From your professional view, what would you say is mental disorder?
Okay, thank you. Mental disorder are diseases that affect the mind.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay.
Because the word mental, most times when people hear mental, they feel it's something big. But what we are saying is anything that causes your mind to experience distress or distresses, it is mental disorder. And by the time individual is having mental illnesses or diseases that is affecting their mind, it begins to affect their social functioning, occupational functioning, and etc. etc. So any disease that affects individual's mind is mental disorder.
Oh, thank you. Now, going to the topic of the day, what would you address as eating disorder from your psychological perspective?
Eating disorders are characterized by persistent disturbance of eating or eating-related behavior that results in the altered consumption or absorption of food that significantly impairs physical health or psychosocial functioning. So any is a psychological condition that causes unhealthy eating habits to develop in individual, or the way they absorb it.
And to a layman, what would you explain? Okay, for example, if we're trying to address children, because I know at some point in time I personally have had loss of appetite. Could we address this as eating disorder?
No. Loss of appetite for a while cannot be regarded as eating disorder.
Okay.
Anything we call disorder has to do with any problem that impairs individual functioning in day-to-day activities, and that is posing a problem to the individual and to people around him or her. Individual can have a loss of appetite because of failure in workplace, in academics, or in marital issues of life. So having a temporal loss of appetite cannot be regarded as eating disorder, no. But by the time it's now begin to persist, as we continue into this program, we're going to consider what are the eating disorders, and we're going to see that they are different from just mere loss of appetite.
Okay, let's just go straight into the types of eating disorders.
Okay, thank you. We have anorexia nervosa, we have bulimia nervosa, we have Pika, we have rumination disorder. We also have avoidant or restrictive food intake disorder, and we have binge eating disorder according to DSM-5. Then somebody can be asking, what is DSM-5?
Yes.
This is Diagnostic, Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders.
Yes.
5th edition. So that is the criteria we use for any mental disorder.
Okay. You didn't mention rumination disorder.
Yeah.
And okay, let's just start from the Pika. We could start from the Pika because it sounds street. I know a lot of young ones out there would be like, oh, Pika. How could Pika be an example of eating disorder? Well, to clarify things, Pika is spelled P-I-C-A. So please, can you enlighten us what is meant by Pika?
Okay, thank you. Pika involves eating things that are not considered food. Some will say eating non-nutritive food. Any substance that is not food. What is food? Anything that we eat that is beneficial to our body system. So by the time individuals crave for non-food substances such as ice, dirt, chalk, soap, paper,
toothpaste.
Toothpaste, clothes, wool, pebbles. In fact,
pebbles.
Exactly. In fact, some can even crave for detergent. It's so funny. Some can crave for cornstarch. Some can even crave for sand. Some people can say they love the smell of sand and they just want to eat it. So Pika has to do with when individual crave for anything that is not food. Yes. It's something that is not beneficial to the body system at all. That's Pika.
Wow. What about binge eating?
Binge eating has to do with when individual eat in large quantity. Binge eating involves when individual eat in large quantity. Most times it happens in adolescence or early adulthood, and the individual just eat in large quantity of food, more than is normal for people to eat or for the particular age range. So when individual ingest so much food that it's beyond what we regard as normal, that is binge eating. And an individual could not resist calories. Yes, they just eat very large quantity of food. Just consuming,
exactly. Irrespective of what amount of calories is necessary for you.
Exactly, unusually large amount of food.
Oh, well, I remember when we were in the boarding house, there used to be some of our friends who, when we say we're done with food, like food never wastes around them.
Okay.
Like a table of 14 people, when everyone says, "Oh, I'm full," and they're like, oh, don't throw it away, bring it. Like, they can actually consume half the pot for 14 people.
Wow.
Yes. And you'll be so shocked. The most shocking aspect of their stature is they are usually very slim. Yes. Would you say that is binge eating?
Okay, binge eating has to do with when individuals have lack of control over eating unusually large amount of food.
Lack of control.
Lack of control. And individual eat much more rapidly than normal.
Okay.
Much more rapidly than normal. For instance, the case you cited now, it's possible that maybe the person eats maybe around 10 and the person will not eat anything till evening.
That's not true.
So they'll still eat?
Yes.
So we can say it's a binge disorder, binge eating disorder anyway. So when individuals do not have control over what they eat, and the individual eating until feeling uncomfortably full, they will eat to the point that they now feel very uncomfortable with themselves. And the one thing people fail to understand is that we need to realize that the way God created our system, we have large intestine and we have small intestine. And it will amaze you that the one that goes into our body system that is so nutritious or very, very wonderful for us is the small intestine, which shows to us that our body needs small quantity of food that we ingest.
Of the right.
Exactly. So if you eat so much, you have your large intestine doing a lot of work and bringing out for you as feces. So we can consider your example as binge eating disorder.
Let's go ahead with the different types. We have anorexia nervosa. We have the likes of bulimia nervosa. Please just go ahead with them.
Okay. Thank you. Anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa are the most common eating disorder that people are well conversant with, or that they know more. And the thing is that anorexia nervosa it occurs mostly during adolescence or young adulthood, and it tends to affect women more than men. And what happened during anorexia nervosa is that individuals have this consciousness of becoming thin. You will see that I say thin, not slim.
Okay.
Thin, very thin. And they try to eat small quantity of food, more than is normal, very small proportion, because they have this sense that they want to maintain this particular body shape, which is very, very thin. And we have two types of anorexia nervosa. We have the purging type and we have the restrictive type. The restrictive type, this set of individual, we don't want to eat at all. Because they have this consciousness that they don't want to add weight. And anyone that is suffering from anorexia nervosa, we have BMI that is under 18.5. 18.5 is regarded as normal weight.
What is BMI?
Thank you. BMI is body mass index, and it is calculated through your weight divided by your height. That's how you are going to get it. So for this sort of individuals, if they have their BMI will be lower than 18.5, and because of the fact that they want to maintain this thinness. So the restrictive type, that, as I was explaining, they will not want to eat at all. They don't want to go near food because they don't want to add weight. And one thing about anorexia nervosa is that this set of people, the anorexic people, they don't come to term that they are underweight. They don't come to the term that they are underweight. They don't want to admit that fact. So they don't want to eat because they don't want to get fat. So they become very thin. In fact, some can get as thin as skeleton. Wow. But one thing is, it won't be obvious to people because they are going to be putting on padded clothes just to cover up that fact, so that individual will not know. Yes. And then we have the purging type of anorexia nervosa. This set of people, they don't want to get fat as well, so they want to maintain that thinness. So in a bid to maintain that thinness, after eating a very small proportion of food, they will still go ahead to purge it. Purge it using laxatives or vomiting by putting their hands in their throats to bring the food out, because they have the sense that the little they've ingested can add to their weight. So it's a psychological condition that has to do with individuals becoming obsessed with their body shape, and they want to be thin. They just want to be thin. So then let me go straight to bulimia nervosa. Okay,
before you go there, I know that this is quite common amidst our young adults.